Back on TYT Sports, back in the studio, back wearing a baseball hat. My hair's atrocious. Why the Milwaukee Brewers, do you say? Well, it's appropriate for the baseball clip because they traded away one of their best players, Jonathon Lucroy. He was a catcher, and he went to a team that needed an immediate fill in the Texas Rangers. The title of this clip, what you're going to see, and we're going to talk about this clip, is what teams at the MLB Trade Deadline significantly boosted their chances of winning the World Series. Well, for one, odds. Odds makers are great. Oddshark's a great website. Let's see what they think has the best chance of winning the World Series after the deadline. Cubbies still 3.5 to 1. That makes sense. The Giants, it just smells a little bit like the Giants are going to make a World Series run. 6.5 to 1.
Smell a little bit.
The Rangers right there alongside them, 6.5 to 1. The Indians, who have been hot for a long time, although just lost Danny Salazar, 7.5 to 1. The Nationals, 7.5 to 1. And the Blue Jays, Red Sox, Orioles, Dodgers, just count them out. Sorry, fans of those teams. But you can really start making, you can start seeing what teams are prepared to make those runs. Baseball, although a 162-game season, after this 80, 90, 100-game sample size, you just start, like minus a collapse, which always happens before the playoffs, right before the playoffs, you can start seeing what teams are going to make that run. The Rangers picked up Jonathon Lucroy and Carlos Beltran. Beltran's a big one, Francis, because he came over from the Yankees, and you're going to get onto that in just a second. But the Rangers' DHs have hitting in the low 200s. Anybody who's played the designated hitter position for them or filled that spot, hitting in the low 200s. Beltran's got double the amount of home runs that they've had all season long. He's 39 years old, but still hitting the ball pretty well, especially out of the DH spot. Steroids! But that's okay. So they filled two immediate needs and made their lineup even better. Yu Darvish, although made 4 mistakes for solo home runs just the other night, is still throwing some of the absolute nastiest, filthiest. Balls don't move that way. He has these sliders that start pretty much at third base and cut over to first base. It doesn't even make sense. It's just how it works. But so the Rangers are really looking like a team that might be able to get over the hump. However, I still believe whoever comes out of the National League will go on to win the World Series. I think the Cubs, Nationals, and Giants are managed well enough on top of having depth, rotation, and not an onslaught of injuries to stop them. The Rangers technically are healthy, but I just don't see it. I don't see them defensively sound enough to make those plays. I don't see them, and their pitching depth, although outside of Yu Darvish, I don't see enough to compete with some of these lineups in the National League. Even though their offense might be able to do it, power pitching will beat power hitting 90% of the time.
I've got some questions for you.
Yeah.
Some curveballs to throw.
You need a new pitch. You should start saying split finger fastball.
I've got some split finger fastballs to throw at you.
That's nice.
Cutting from first to third base.
How's that feel?
Feels a little bit better.
A little better.
So the Yankees, staple of baseball, one of the most well-known franchises in the history. Back in 2009, correct me if I'm wrong, they went the opposite route in order to get that championship. They bought their team in order to go on and win. This year, they seem to have traded away the majority of their team and to resort to a very, for me, Boston Celtics basketball method of building a team based around structure, youth. What are your thoughts on that? Is that a positive move for the Yankees? I know you're not a Yankees fan, and we just had this discussion about a potential clip for our podcast, which we will be bringing soon, where you wish that you would have actually been raised a Yankees fan to save you some heartache.
Dad.
Either way, what are the Yankees fans thinking about this? Because it's like, for me, I understand when you relate it to most sports, when you're a staple team, like, for instance, the Lakers, and you're looking to rebuild, are the fans impatient? Do they want just an immediate fix for that team? Do they want another 2009 championship, or would they like to see their team built from the ground up?
Win the most championships in baseball history, some of the most championships across all American sports.
5 pages worth, some would say.
On the Google app, if you look at it, it takes 5 pages of scrolling. Man, I wish any of my teams had that. You become impatient because once you start winning, you become addicted to winning. As a fan, you do it once, you're like, wow, that's just brings tears to my eyes. Let's do it again next year. That feels so good. Let's do it back to back to back. Don't forget 1998, 1999, 2000. Yankees back to back to back. Almost 4-peated, lost to the Diamondbacks in 2001. 2009, they buy Mark Teixeira. They buy Alex Rodriguez. Mariano Rivera is still playing well. Derek Jeter has lost pretty much all his fielding at that point, but still hitting the ball extremely well. And they go on to win the World Series once again. Now it's been 7 years. Oh, my God, 7 years. That's so nice. And that method of going out in free agency and during the trade deadline and just buying top-tier talent or trading away your farm system where you grow young players to eventually fill the needs. The Red Sox do this very, very well. And that's why through the 2000s and 2010s, they have 3 championships to their name. And they reversed that curse. They make smarter trades to develop those players at young ages, guys like Dustin Pedroia, and they robbed a team of Jason Varitek years ago, who they saw potential and leadership in. The Yankees are known to be cutthroat when it comes to their general management. The house that Steinbrenner built was a great documentary you can see, cutthroat businessman, because that's what he's after. He knows championships equal money, and that's what they're there for, and the Yankees are a winning team. Aroldis Chapman didn't make sense in the Yankees. Pretty much when he got traded there, or signed there, didn't make sense for that half season because they weren't going to contend. So they shipped him to the Cubs, which is actually a great move for Chapman, all off-the-field incidents aside. The guy's throwing 103, 104-mile-an-hour heat, and the Cubs pick up a great closer, hence why they boosted their chances of winning a World Series even more and ending that curse. They also got rid of Andrew Miller. They got rid of Carlos Beltran, guys that their contracts are just... Carlos Beltran's contract was absurd, even for baseball standards. He doesn't deserve to be making that much money at that age. And they can get rid of their 2 closers. They picked up prospects, which I'll leave in the description box below, and I'm not going to bore you with in terms of what those prospects could become. But the point is that when you start building through young talent, top 10 baseball America's top 10 prospects across the board in their positions, pitchers, relievers, infielders, utility players, guys who can come off the bench and add depth to your team, then you wait a year or 2, see which 1 or 2 of those guys pop, and then you pick up your big-name free agent. Then you throw all of your money at Bryce Harper or Mike Trout, and when they become free agents to come over, or next year, for example, will be Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion in the free agent market, and then you start piecing together. That's how teams contend for championships. Look at the past World Series winners. San Francisco Giants. They won a World Series without having a guy who had hit more than 100 RBIs all season long. I think their leading RBI leader at that point at 88. So no powerhouse slugger on that team. Look at the Kansas City Royals. They win by literally just putting the ball in play. Single after single after single after single, and great defense. None of those teams, both those teams who have made up most of the last World Series, the Cardinals too, have won with a name like Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Albert Pujols before he left, after he left the Cardinals. They still played well. None of those guys had those players. You don't need that player to win, but you need him to sell jerseys. So build young talent. Did the Yankees boost their chances of winning World Series? Yes, but in 2018, 2019, 2020. The Mets signed Jay Bruce, who, by the way, for a guy who leads the National League in RBIs, has the lowest WAR since, Dan, are you ready for this name? Dante Bichette. And guys like Gary Sheffield. What a name. What a name. Rangers boosted their chances the most. I'm sorry, Rangers fans. I just don't believe in it. I do think it goes to the Cubbies, the Nationals, or the Giants.
Oh, how close have they came? The last...
Cubbies?
They reached the World Series.
No, they've made a World Series or 2 since their curse of, oh my God.
No, I'm saying they came.
Oh, they lost. They
got
swept by the Mets.
Yeah, they got swept last year.
Yeah. Not this year, though. If the Mets make the playoffs, we're getting destroyed. It's not our year.
So is it Chicago's year? Finally.
I really hope so. It would be so great for baseball. And then watch the Cubbies fans. They win one. Once they win, then the next year is going to be like, here we go, back to back.
It's like Frank the Tank when it hits your lips.
Do it up again. He won it. So good. Once it hits your lips, it's so good.
When you texted your significant other, and she said, when you said we won the championship, because you're not even a Leicester fan. She goes, but we did it. That would be the Cubs. That would be the Cubbies winning it. Even Jacory wants the Cubs to win it. He's a Red Sox fan.
I'm raising my hand to point out that the soccer reference
it was an appropriate reference.
Was not made by me. They're all appropriate references. I just don't get allowed to.
I'm allowed to. I only make like 3 a year.
Fucking. I can't flip it.
All right. By the way, cheapest beer in the country, Milwaukee.
Interesting. Is that why you win that?
Part of it. I just like the logo.
Nice.
That's it. That's the clip.
I like Milwaukee Bucks.
Favorite, subscribe, comment below. I'll get 4 guys to say, more baseball videos. You're my favorites. You're the real MVPs.